Hey guys, how's it going? This is Evan from evanmods.com, and we are going to revisit the tutorial on how to change out the standard green LEDs that everybody's used to in this controller. We're going to change them out and make them blue, because everybody likes a little bit of customization in their controller. Now, what you're going to need to do this is a soldering iron, some tweezers, solder, of course the LEDs in the controller. Now, what I have here is a butane soldering iron, but you can just use one from Walmart. They're perfectly fine. Wattage, 35 watts is what I use. If you've got like a 45 watt one, just be a little bit careful about like burning the LEDs and holding them on there for too long, but I haven't really had a problem with this, so you shouldn't worry about it. As for the tweezers, you can see that I have a bent angle on the end of the tweezers, and I highly recommend them to be like that because it'll help you get around the circuit board that is inside the controller, and it'll be a lot easier. Now you can probably find those maybe at Walmart, maybe at a hobby shop, or maybe even like a salon or something. I don't know why they'd have these kind of tweezers there, but you never know. Now these LEDs, this is how they come when you buy them from evanmods.com. They come in a plastic baggie so you won't lose the LEDs in the package. Now I'm going to take them off. And they're on this little piece of cardboard. That's so you don't lose this little strip of LEDs. All you do is you just take them, pull them right off, and there's your LEDs. Pretty small, huh? That's why you need tweezers. So anyway, that's enough talk. We'll just go ahead and get started to actually, installing these LEDs into the controller. One thing I forgot to mention that you'll need is this Torx T8 security bit screwdriver that you can find at evanmods.com for $3, and it's an actual screwdriver. It's not some other sites that sell you a little L wrench thing. Those aren't easy to use. This thing is a full-size screwdriver, makes it really easy. But anyway, we'll go ahead and take apart the controller now. Now what I do is, I guess this is another thing you'll need, is electrical tape. Well, actually any kind of tape will work, but all I do is I just cover the buttons up like this, press it down, and it holds all the buttons in there because they will fall out. And that's enough for there. We'll just go ahead and take the battery pack out, and then there are 7 screws, and you can see them here. There's one up here, there, down here. There's actually one hidden under the sticker, which we'll get to in a second. There's one there, there, and there. So let's just go ahead and take these out. Now, as I showed you, there's one behind there. You can see I poked through it, but yeah, just take your screwdriver and press it through the sticker, and you can get right to that screw. Okay, that is the last one coming out, and they're still in there, so we'll just kind of dump them up there. But anyway, then you just go from each side, pry it up a little bit, and the front case comes right off along with the plastic bumpers and the sync button being right there. Okay, now you want to go ahead and remove the rubber pad, the thumbsticks, and then you can take out the circuit board after you remove this last plastic piece. Then you can discard those things for now. And now we are ready to actually get started on soldering the LEDs, which you cannot see. But anyway, I'll zoom you in here and we will get started. Okay, now the first step you need to take is to remove these old green LEDs that you no longer want. So those are these things right here, these little sand-sized squares or rectangles, and all you need to do is take your soldering iron and some solder and just put a glob of solder onto the LED. Now don't worry about overheating or whatever, but you want to be careful. You don't want to force the LED off. Make sure you get the solder around it completely melted before trying to remove it. And as you saw there, it just stuck to the end of the soldering iron, and just flick it off onto your little table, workbench, wherever you are. Now I'll do that one more time just to show you, and then I will speed up the video for the other two. Okay, see, it's that easy. Because, alright, you got a big blob of solder on there. Just take your soldering iron, put it back on there, and it'll come right off and stick to the end of the soldering iron. And you can flick it, like I said, onto your workbench. But yep, then you may want to run over them just one more time. Just make sure you get those 2 contact points flat. Now, one thing, like I said, you don't want to force them off because the contacts will rip off of there and render it useless, and it's very difficult to fix. But the way you do that is you'd have to scrape back the green plastic that is on this, covering the circuit board, and you'd have to scrape it off on the little line that's going to that contact point. I'm not going to show you how to do that. in this tutorial because this is how to install them. But now we're going to take care of these other two, and it'll be just as easy as before. Alright, there we go. We have them off, and as you can see, we are left with the 4 contact points where the other LEDs used to be, and we can go on to installing the new strip of LEDs that we have here. Now, as you can see, there's actually 5 included out of the 4 that you need for the controller. That is in case you lose one because they are so small. So anyway, we'll go ahead and get into these, and how I do that is I just take my tweezers and you just peel back the plastic that is covering the LEDs, and I'll try to show you that on camera. Somewhat difficult though while being up close, but let's see. Yep, and then we can just peel it back, and you get the idea. There we go, we've got 2 LEDs ready to go. We'll just dump them right onto the circuit board and make sure not to lose them. There's one right there, and the other one is down here by these little points. Now, one thing you do have to pay attention to is how you face the LEDs, because it does matter. Now, as you can see on the circuit board, there are some white lines at the top of the contact points. That is the way that you have to face LEDs. Now, there are marks on the bottoms of the LEDs themselves that tell you which way to face them, and it's different for some, so I will show you some pictures of the different kinds and where to face them. Alright, well, this is just a plain arrow that you need to face towards the white line, so just make sure you are directing that and point towards the white line of the LED contact point. The next type is just standard contact points, but one is larger than the other one, and the one that's bigger is the one that you want to face towards the white line. Lastly, we have this kind that just has a line going through the middle, but also a little square coming off that line. Now you want to face the square towards the white line on the circuit board. Okay, well, the blue LEDs that we are installing actually have an arrow on the bottom, so that makes it really easy to tell where they're supposed to be going. Now, to start this, what you do is you have to make sure that they're flipped, of course, top side up, where the arrow or the other type of marking is facing down. So you can't really see the arrow, maybe a little bit, but we're going to face that towards the white line up here on the top. And how I start doing this is, all I do is I take my soldering iron right here, I put a little bit of solder on the end of it, you get the little blob of solder on there, and while it's still kind of fresh, you don't want the solder on there too long before you try this, but you place the LED facing the right direction, and then just take that solder you put on there and touch it to one side. Now that is stuck on there, and it's a pretty good job. You know, you can still see the other soldering point a little bit, but if you can't, just take the solder or take the LED with your tweezers and pinch it, and then maneuver it to where you can still see both contact points, since you do have to make a good connection on both. And here we go. That is about right there. That is a good solder point. So now that's secured with one side, you can go around to the other one with some new solder and your soldering iron, and then just take it and add more to that side to make a good connection, and then some more to the other side actually to make sure it's making a really good connection. Now don't keep the soldering iron on there too long, but that's good right there. That LED is on and it should light up since we face it the right way, and you just want to keep and make sure you put fresh solder on each side of the LED. Now I'm going to do this one more time while talking, and then the rest I will speed through. Let's see. Okay, the arrow is pointing towards the white line up here, and we are going to go ahead and get this LED on. Like I said, just start out with some new solder, put it on the soldering iron, and I do this for each one. And there we go. We've got some solder on there. Pick up the LED and then place it on the contact points and just touch it at first to make a connection. And that's stuck on there. Make sure you don't pull too hard. You don't want to rip it off there like I said before. But now just go to the other side with some new solder. Make sure that one's on there good. And then back to the other side with some fresh solder. And that LED is now completely on there and ready to go. Now you can still see a little bit of black and brown around it, and that's just the rosin. It's in the solder. It won't hurt anything, so you can just leave it there. or you can take a screwdriver and just gently, it doesn't take much force, but you just kind of scrape a little bit and it'll come off, and then you can just wipe it away. But it's no big deal. But, I mean, don't apply any pressure really. Just kind of rub it off, and it'll come off if you're really worried about it. But nobody will even see it. So that's 2 of them, and then I'll just speed through the other 2. Okay, well, you see I've encountered a problem and I'm having a little bit of trouble with this one. It's because if you let the soldering iron, if the solder that you add to the soldering iron stays on there for too long, it will lose what is built into it to keep it from just being difficult and making a good connection. So you always want to just keep applying fresh solder, or else you'll run into the problem that I'm having, where it's not wanting to make a good connection and it's difficult to actually place down. But that is almost good right there. That's almost good. I'm having a little bit of trouble. There we go. That is on there, and now we can keep going. But remember, always keep applying fresh solder, or else you will run into some problems. And now this LED is on there and ready to go. Now let's go for the last one. Okay, well, there you go. There's all 4 LEDs installed. Now all we have to do to make sure we did it right was take the back of the case. I will zoom you out here real quick. Take the back of the case, pop in the controller, and line up everything right. Then we can put in the battery pack, and then grab the rubber pad, place it over, and hey, look! They're all installed correctly. The lighting isn't letting them show up too good, and the bottom ones look brighter, but it's simply because the top ones are kind of in the shadow. But yep, they are all installed correctly. They're all turning on. Now we can go and place everything back into the controller. So what we do is we can put down that rubber pad first. We will have to adjust that anyway. I'll zoom you out a little bit more here, and take this bottom plastic piece that goes down around the headset jack. Press that into place. Thumbsticks, those are simple, easy to put on. And now we can negotiate these. Now, my little trick to it is take your finger like this, hold it like that with your middle finger, and then take your pointer finger and just push the wires back in there and press a little motor down in there. Now we do the same on the other side, and there you go. Those are now in place and positioned pretty well, but you're still going to have to move them around a little bit to get them to go in there better. Now you want to line this up right so that your button's pressed down, so you know you got to get this set up right. And the little pin, oh, I just messed it up, but the pin over here on the right, it should be just like that, and all your buttons should work perfectly. Now when you set this down, don't press it down too much, because what you're doing is the motors in here are messing it up. So what you do is you can stick your finger in there a little bit and move them around, push them until it works, but it's a little difficult. Everything has been a little bit more difficult because I'm going around a tripod right now trying to get this to work, but we're almost there. You still have to just push the motors around a little bit, and there we go. Everything is sealing up nicely. Just make sure everything goes into place, and then you can commence and put the screws back in from before. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that, and then we will look at the final product when I'm done. Okay, well, I have a battery back in here. It is ready to test out, so let's just go ahead and turn it on. And look at that, we have our blue LEDs working perfectly, and sorry that I can't get them to show up too well. The lighting's not good, and they're really bright. Blue is awesome in these black controllers, and that is exactly how I do the LED installation for the Xbox 360 controller. So anyway, I want to thank you for watching. This has been Evan from EvanMods.com showing you how to change out the ring of light LEDs in an Xbox 360 controller. Now stay tuned and subscribe if you want to see my troubleshooting video that I will be coming out with in case you do mess up your controller and rip the contacts off. I will show a video on how to fix that and how to test your controller along the way to make it easier to know if you have them installed correctly. So once again, I want to say thank you, and I will see you guys later.